at the time I got into animation, there were two characters that were exceedingly popular. Bert and Harry Peel, for Piels beer. There were two brothers, and someone had written up a bio for each of these guys about what they were like. It was like, it would be like any writer might do for any of his characters in a book. They would make a dimensional character that would behave in a certain specific way. And the characters' voices were done by Bob and Ray,
to tell you why the
who
driest
were
of all the dry
premier
beers has a superb, distinctive flavor.
guys that were on the radio. Everybody knew Bob and Ray. They were on all the night shows, and they were wonderful characters. And so I was introduced into that world. And it wasn't long before I was doing Bert and Harry Peel. We were just given that commercial to do, and so I had to learn how to draw the characters the way this artist had conceived them, and the artist who conceived them was a guy by the name of Jack Sidebotham, whom we got to know very well later on. But Jack worked at Young and Rubicam, and that's where this stuff originated from. And the guy who wrote the original character's name was Ed Graham. And Ed Graham eventually went on to work with Bob and Ray, and they formed their own agency called Goulding, Elliott and Graham. And later on, in my travelings, I became part of that team. I worked for Goulding, Elliott and Graham with Mike Smolin. Different studios would work on the same character at times. Like, for instance, the typical thing was like the Piels brothers. It wouldn't be just one studio working on it. There'd be maybe 5 different studios that would bid on it, and each one would get a chance to do their version. And that would mean 5 different artists would interpret those characters that Jack Sidebotham had designed. The Piels brothers, who were immensely popular during the 50s.
Bert and Harry Peel.
It was like you were, if people knew that you had worked on these commercials, you were like a movie star. They would regard you as so special. You worked on Bob and Ray, oh my God. Every time a different artist would work on it, they would be interpreted through their eyes. They'd be the same character, but there'd be a lot of subtle differences that would take place. So no studio ever did it exactly the same as the other. They did their own version of whatever the character was. Like Sugar Bear was another one that a lot of different studios worked on, even though I worked on it for a great time, a long time. There were other studios that at some time had worked on it. So the bear would become quite different than the one that you did. And the audience wouldn't be that critical about it, because in the context of this telling of the story, any bear would really suffice. So if your version was in that commercial, then so be it. And